The Lost Generation. Imagine turning 17 and being shipped off to muddy trenches in Europe, with bombs exploding above your head and poison gas drifting through the air. That was the reality for the Lost Generation, born between 1883 and 1900. They came of age during World War I, a war so devastating it shattered people's faith in society. Afterward, many felt adrift, hence the name Lost. Writers like Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald told their stories through the Jazz Age, capturing a generation that searched for meaning after surviving unimaginable horror. The Greatest Generation, aka GI Generation. Now picture being a child in the 1930s, standing in long food lines during the Great Depression. Money is scarce, jobs are disappearing, and survival means grit. This was the childhood of the Greatest Generation, born between 1901 and 1927. And just as they reached adulthood, another crisis hit World War II. Millions fought overseas, while millions more worked in factories at home. They endured hardship, sacrificed everything. And when they returned, they built the modern world suburbs, highways, universities, and booming industries. Their resilience earned them the name Greatest Generation. The Silent Generation. Now fast forward to 1928 through 1945. Imagine being a kid during World War II, but too young to fight. You grow up listening to stories of sacrifice and watching your parents rebuild the world. This is the Silent Generation. They were disciplined, hardworking, and cautious, shaped by scarcity and recovery. In the 1950s, they came of age during a time of conformity where the focus was family, stability, and steady jobs. They were called silent not because they had no voice, but because they valued duty over protest. Still, quietly, many became leaders in the civil rights movement, music, and arts. The baby boomers. Now picture being born in 1946. The war is over, economies are booming, and families are having more children than ever before. This massive wave of births became the baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964. They grew up with television shaping their childhoods, rock and roll blasting from radios, and the space race inspiring dreams. Boomers lived through the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and the cultural revolutions of the 1960s. Some became hippies protesting war, while others pursued the American dream with new houses and cars. They would go on to dominate politics, business, and culture for decades. The Generation X. Now jump to 1965 through 1980. Imagine being a kid who comes home from school, unlocks the door, and spend the afternoon alone with the TV because both parents are working or divorced. That was everyday life for many in Generation X, known as the latchkey kids. Gen X grew up more independent and resourceful. They experienced the Cold War's end, the rise of personal computers, and the birth of MTV. Their soundtrack was punk, hip-hop, and grunge. They adapted from rotary phones to email, from cassette tapes to CDs. Gen X is often called the bridge connecting the analog past to the digital future. The millennials? They're also known as Gen Y. Now picture being born in the 1980s or 90s. You grew up with dial-up internet, Saturday morning cartoons, and eventually the first smartphones. This is the millennial experience. Born between 1981 and 1996, they witnessed 9/11 as children or teens, faced the 2008 financial crisis as young adults, and were the first to navigate a fully connected online world. Social media shaped their friendships, dating moved online, and streaming replaced DVDs. Millennials are known for being tech-savvy, diverse, and values-driven. They prioritize sustainability, equality, and experiences over material possessions, making them one of the most socially conscious generations to date. The Generation Z. Now imagine being a kid who never knew a world without YouTube, Google, or smartphones. That's Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012. Their childhoods were filled with memes, TikToks, and social media platforms. But behind the screen, they grew up with major global challenges, climate change, political division, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Gen Z is entrepreneurial, creative, and outspoken. They are the generation that organizes online movements, builds businesses from their bedrooms, and turns social media trends into global culture. They are the most diverse and socially aware generation yet. The Generation Alpha. Now picture being born in 2015. By the time you can walk, you're already swiping on a tablet. You ask Alexa or Siri questions before you can even read. That's Generation Alpha, born between 2013 and 2029. These are the children of millennials and older Gen Z parents. They are being raised in a world dominated by artificial intelligence, automation, and global connection. Experts predict they'll be the most educated, tech-savvy, and globally minded generation in history. But they'll also face challenges: climate change, automation of jobs, and navigating life alongside AI as a constant companion. The Generation Beta. And finally, the future. Imagine being born around 2035. The world may already have humans living on Mars, AI deeply woven into everyday decisions, and breakthroughs in medicine extending lifespans. That will be Generation Beta, expected between 2030 and 2045. They will inherit the consequences of climate change, globalization, and technology merging with human life. Some say they may be the first generation to live side by side with advanced AI, not as tools, but as partners. The story of Generation Beta is still unwritten, but their world will likely be more different from ours than ours was from our grandparents. From the lost generation, shaped by the trenches of World War I, to the future Generation Beta, who may grow up under the shadow of AI and space travel, every generation is molded by history, and then goes on to shape history in return. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more easy-to-digest explainers on history, psychology, and culture.